All right, so this is actually round 2 of trying to record for this video. I'll just keep it short. I'm not probably going to narrate over the whole footage, but it'll be there for you to view in case you want to see how I executed something. I only videoed 1 round of this because it was too hard to do the video on top of maintaining the interval clock on my phone like I needed, because this is an outdoor gym and there's no clock available. I did 8 rounds. The first like 2 or 3 rounds weren't quite on the interval because I kept messing with the camera, and so this is actually probably round 3 you're viewing. The last 5 rounds are on a minute 15 interval pretty strictly, and it was very tough. This yoke was loaded with about 200 pounds. I followed that up with messing around with the log for a bit, and then I called it quits. Just like normal, before I start and to cool down, I do a little bit of rowing and whatever stretching at the time that I feel is necessary. For this session, there wasn't a lot that I considered terribly necessary because I wasn't going heavy on this log, and there's not a lot of mobility demands placed on me for the yoke. In fact, for the yoke, especially while I'm not wearing a belt, I don't want to be too maybe limber. I would like to be stiff and quick, to be perfectly frank. There's probably some people that will disagree with that. Maybe I'll disagree with that in a year's time. But as of right now, I'm not trying to make it that I'm having to use like more neurological load because I've increased my mobility and therefore demands from like essentially excessive warm-up. Like I would also be like maybe more fatigued than I would like to be, especially since I'm trying to do these conditioning workouts heavier with taking on like equal amounts of fatigue. So it just didn't make sense, especially for something that's really on the upper end like yoke. I like these. I think they're called SOTS presses. They're really good for like activating the erector group, spine, erector spinae rhomboids, making sure that your subscapular and scapular muscles are engaged. Are there scapular muscles proper, or are there just subscapula? Anyway, yeah, making sure they're engaged through the press. Oh man, this thing bounced everywhere. I had not ever used this implement before. I couldn't figure out like what to put under it because like there's no clearance on the floor for your feet. I didn't want to drop it on my toesy woesies. And so yeah, it was a time. Yeah, absolute embarrassment. I'll figure it out as time goes, and I knew this was going to be kind of an issue. So that's one of the reasons why I didn't go super heavy, and in fact, when I added weight on, I put some 35s on, so 70 pounds plus the weight of the log, whatever that is. I actually backed it down and did like 2 more sets where I just was really trying to feel the pathway that also feels explosive, right? Really trying to treat it like how I know how to treat the Olympic lifts. Not that I'm some Olympic lifting expert, it's just, that's where my like highest skill happens to be, all things considered. Yeah, absolutely rough. That was such a rough press. The reason this one's square is because this is the one I posted to Instagram because it was pretty, or prettier anyway. So I cropped it up so it fit. Got to do it for the gram, bro. For the gram. For the gram. This is actually probably the wrong one. The one that I posted, I think I chopped this one up too, but the one that I actually ended up posting to Instagram, I was a little bit explosive on and like speedy on the feet. fast feet. This is kind of some no foot pressing. I didn't quite have the pathway yet. It's the one after this that I think is the one I posted. And so like what we're actually going to see in a little while is, so this is day, I want to say 7, and then day 8 is just following. And day 8 is essentially going to be like, I was just in a absolute trash can of a mood, totally ornery. Like I couldn't be around humans. I was upset. And so I went and did some heavy-ish snatch and some fairly heavy-ish clean and jerk. And so one of the things that I explained in my first attempt at recording this before I got hit for some copyright, because I forgot to get rid of the audio in one of these clips somewhere, is that the way that I do these percentages is that I might have a starting percentage that is absolutely known and measured. And then maybe for some other lifts that I actually understand as accessory lifts, I will use a very conservative conversion. But the base lift that is real and measured at the start of a cycle, I actually have a linear progression for all the way to the end of the cycle. But that does not mean that I'm actually lifting at that linear progression. I assume like that for like a conversion, right? So like let's say on day 1 my max squat is like 365, right? And literally it'll be like half a pound more the following session. And so it's a single pound, or like, 2 pounds more the next week. These aren't the actual numbers, but like I'm just trying to give the general idea of how this works. That there's an incremental increase each session, and it is extremely small, right? Like maybe a quarter pound, half pound, something like that. I'd actually have to look at my spreadsheet. And then that converts over to like whatever I'm doing that day. Like let's say that that day is 60%, right? It's 60% of that projected max for another lift. But I try to base them off like what are my big lifts and what have I done recently. So like currently my projections are based off of my like overhead ability and my deadlift. I pretty much almost always do squats for reps, so my max squat is not known. I pretty much only ever do like very, very heavy squats, like near max. Like we're talking about like maybe 3 rep max squats, but I never do actual 1 rep max squats. Mostly just because I don't think they're super necessary, especially in strongman. There haven't been a whole lot of instances where like you'll see a max squat, especially for a lightweight class competition. I think some of the competitions that have like no lightweights, or lightweights that are really showcased as being a part of the competition, right? It's just the heavyweights, like World's Strongest Man. They've done some, but even that's really, really infrequent. It was, I think, a few years between when no, it wasn't even World's Strongest Man. It was the Arnold, I want to say. Was it the Arnold? Arnold that did a max squat. And I think between then and the last time that any of those really super big international, it's the top like 10 guys in the world competitions, I think it'd been a few years since they had done max squats. So it just doesn't happen really. So I'm not worried about it. The squats are a tool to drive up my other lifts. So I never really need to do them for max. I'll do my other lifts for max, and I just will already know that the limiting factor is not actually my squat strength. It's probably something else. It's maybe my like leg explosiveness, but not the actual force production. It'll be the rate of force production that might be lacking, in which case too frequent of max efforts on squat where I'm losing speed is probably actually more of a detriment. So as always, like the first couple lifts I try to be fast. I stop at 165. My max ever is like 195 or something. I think the max I've ever gotten on camera is like 185 or 190. It might be 195. I'd actually have to check and see. But offhand while I'm recording this, I'm not really actually terribly sure. Either way, I was upset, went heavy. I don't really go above 95% unless it's like programmed in. I'm like 10 to 14 days out from when I plan to like hit a new PR, and maybe I will do a non-risky conservative max effort, right, wherever that lands, without, like, the idea is to end that session without actually missing a lift. I follow that up, the snatching and the clean and jerk, with something that I don't think is good. Like the same problem, like squats, you want them to be fast, right? So you never want to go like too heavy or too much volume. You want to be in that right sweet spot, especially while you're like getting closer to a test day or like competition day or something like that. But like the rowing direction, I think you can do that pretty heavy, pretty good volume. You want that to be strong, because I think for the Olympic lifts, your effort in that direction is kind of like isometric in a way. Like you're pulling it not really with a lot of like true speed. You're just building the tension that is being like it's just assisting in building the tension that's already developing through the rest of your body as you pull from the floor. You're not rowing. You need that tension that's there. And so rows and pull-ups are really, really great to add on the end of these workouts. I had stopped doing it for a while, and then I looked back at some other stuff that was clues to when I was feeling my best and doing my best, and that stuff indicated that I was actually doing a lot of pulling post my Olympic lifting work instead of the pressing, because I was really worried about my press and started doing more pressing to finish up my Olympic lifting work. So I'm gonna put my pressing on my dedicated like squat leg days, right? For me, that's really counterintuitive. I would have done back work with back work, like squats and deadlifts with rowing, so that way it's a lot of volume on one day. But if I'm not doing a whole lot of like training frequency, it's a lot of load on a single day that I'm allowing myself 2 days to recover from, because that just seems to be what works best for me. Then I think I can sort of hit it up in a more even way, like do a little bit of everything each session, but just hitting everything's up in different ways. So this session I was really working on the pull strength. Next session I'll work on some of that behind the neck press after my squats, to which I will also still do like 60 or 70% on the Olympic lifts. Like it'll be very, very minimal. But yeah, so I'll do those Olympic lifts, and then I'll do the squats, and then I'll do some behind the neck press, and might just hit up a little bit of like literally do like a set of 20 of curls and a set of 20 of French curls. Like they're the, you know, the barbell above your head, and use the little squiggly bar, and then it's like a tricep extension. But yeah, so that's about it. Enjoy. Like, subscribe. Have a good one.